Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
My mama likes the yams.
This is episode 179, recorded April 14th, 2021.
Gruesome Magazine.
What was that?
She loves them.
She loves
them yams.
Yams.
I'm your host, Jeff Mohr. This podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not-so-classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade.
Yay.
We're part of the Gruesome Magazine family of video podcasts, which includes Horror News Radio, the Gruesome Magazine podcast, Horror, Heroes and Droids, and Decades of Horror, the classic year of the 70s and the 1980s. Please subscribe, comment, like on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or you can listen to the audio versions on most podcast apps by subscribing to Gruesome Magazine or Horror News Radio. Do that.
Yeah.
Join me tonight.
Yeah.
Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl and co-host of Gruesome Magazine podcast. How are you, Crystal?
I'm wonderful. This is the first time I've seen this movie, and I think I'm happy I saw it.
You're overwhelmed.
I'm pretty happy.
I think you're happy.
Yeah.
Underwhelmed.
No, I am. It was something. It was definitely something.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a little shocked by it, and it has Vincent Price, so you can't really, fault it too much.
Yeah, true. Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, Decades of Horror, 1970s. Chad, how are you?
Well, I haven't given my sister an ice bath today, so I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm doing pretty good. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. All right.
And last but not least is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s. Bill, how are you?
Just dropped a ton of money on one of my cats who's not allowed in this room because he needs to go out and find some buried treasure to make it all worthwhile. Oh, well.
Yeah. Well, so it won't sound like
Great.
It won't sound like the walls are falling down all around you.
Right. Not this time.
All right. Our topic today is From a Whisper to a Scream. And I don't know about you, but I hadn't seen this before. This is directed by Jeff Mohr. Writers are C. Courtney Joyner, Darren Scott, and Jeff Mohr. Along with Mike Malone provided some of the story material. Cast includes Vincent Price, Clu Gulager, Terry Kaiser, Rosalind Cash, and Cameron Mitchell. Production company is Conquest Productions, Manson International, Whisper Scream Limited Partnership. Filming locations, Dalton, Georgia.
Georgia.
And in Los Angeles. It was filmed, all I saw was April 22nd, 1986. I know it took longer than that. It does say in another place, production dates 85, 86. So I'm assuming kind of that the Vincent Price stuff was shot in LA in the studio.
Probably, yeah.
Kind of a day thing. The release date is September 25th, 1987. The budget is an estimated $1.1 million. Domestic box office, approximately 1.4 million.
Oh, wow.
Not a huge gainer, but maybe later. VHS, video, DVD, something.
Creative accounting.
Short synopsis. Yeah. In the small Tennessee town of Oldfield, a historian who is also the uncle of an executed murderess relates 4 horror stories to a reporter. So this is a anthology or a portmanteau, if you will. This is kind of the main poster you see everywhere. Welcome to Oldfield. Stop in for a night of pure terror.
What's crazy is I don't even recognize that. I don't understand how I completely never saw
Didn't
this or
recognize-
listed this. Yeah, the
Well, now
poster.
you may have seen it. I never saw it under this title. I always saw it under The Offspring,
Which
Yeah,
makes
that's
no sense, except for the first.
except for the first story,
segment.
which you would think that if they were going to do that, they would have put that story at the end. But yeah,
Mm.
Well, I don't know. Technically, how did my camera get messed up? Technically, if you think about it, like they all kind of have an offspring element. I mean, like the kids were the offspring of the parents that they used as their magister, and
I guess
And then-
anyone with an actor in it technically has an offspring of somebody.
well,
I
wait, but
I guess anybody who appeared in the movie is an offspring of somebody.
I'm trying to remember all the
All right,
stories.
all right, all right. So, but surely you remember the German title,
Oh,
Die Nacht
Oh, no.
der Schreie,
Schnitzel.
the Night of the Screams.
Night of the Screams.
that's
Oh,
nice.
Not bad. That's
I
not
kind of
bad.
like that. I kind of like that.
Yeah, me too.
And then we have, and this is the part we've all been waiting for, the taglines.
The tagline.
Oh, no.
Oh, they're going to be some good ones.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, brother, here's his sister.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Fear times 4.
Huh.
Oh,
That's
wow.
yeah.
Hit-
here
that's
comes-
horrible.
No, we're not going with that one.
Okay.
Welcome to Oldfield, Tennessee. Population deadly.
That makes no sense at all. That population is a number, not a description.
Yeah.
Population deadly.
And then, last but not least, welcome to Oldfield. Stop in for a night of pure terror.
Mm.
And check out the department store.
Okay, these are the worst ones.
They are-
we've
they're
had.
Not
These
a,
are
yeah,
awful.
not,
Yeah.
not a lot spent on the marketing, probably.
No.
Yeah, I tried to save them, but there's no. I can't.
Well, let's
No.
go on to first impressions, and I'm interested in hearing what y'all think. And
It was your pick, so you got to go first.
I know. No, I'm not going first.
Oh.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Mr.
Cheater,
Billboard.
cheater, pumpkin eater.
Okay.
You got that
well,
right. You got that right.
I'm pretty sure I saw this on HBO or some pay thing under the title The Offspring. I don't know that I was aware of it, but I knew the cast, and it's got a hell of a cast. And I remember watching at the time, that this is unusually mean-spirited for one of these anthology films, which I was rather fond of all the anthologies, and this one just had a cold, cruel quality to things. I mean, most of these things have that Night of the Living Dead, Old Testament, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but this was literally eyes and teeth, and it definitely kept you wondering where it was going. Now, years later, I was at a convention, one of those conventions that's mostly celebrities and stuff, autographs and pictures, and the director, Jeff Mohr, was there. And I think most people were probably asking him about some of the other films that he'd done, sequels to franchises. And I just wanted to ask him about this one, The Offspring. And it's always, whenever you're at a convention, if you could talk to these people about something that they don't get asked a million billion times, they're happy. It makes them happy. And he's a sweet guy, and he gave me a poster for the film and everything. He just gave it to me. Really nice guy. And so I've got an affection for it. It's his first film. This is, and it kind of feels like a first film. Not that it's low quality, but just it has that, let's throw everything against the wall. And I can just imagine what it must have been like to be a first-time director or a horror movie fan. And you get Vincent effing Price to agree to be in your movie. Yeah, that's got to feel good. That's got to have some good memories there. That's a nice thing to take with you for the rest of your career. So I like it. I like it. It's, like I say, it's mean. It's got some pretty boundary pushing stuff. If they had more of a budget, because this is low budget. I don't know if that $1 million budget is accurate or not. I think this movie is more profitable than we're assuming. But
unless they
cast.
spent the $1 million on Vincent,
yeah, I don't think
I don't know
did.
where else it would go.
Although it wouldn't surprise me if that was half the budget right there. But even some of the small things. I mean, you have Lawrence Tierney in a movie. He didn't do anything, but he's there. A lot of the actors that are in this, Cameron Mitchell's always a welcome presence. this is a movie clearly cast by people who knew horror, who knew low budget exploitation things, and they had the chance to work with some pretty cool people. So I have a great deal of affection for this weird little movie.
Cool. I found it very interesting, but let's hear what Crystal has to say. Have you seen this before? And I think you said you hadn't. So what did you think of this? What are your first impressions?
No, I've never seen this before, and I don't know why I haven't seen it though. I mean, apparently it's very popular. So, this movie, wow. I guess Bill kind of hit it on the head. It pushes boundaries, and it's pretty hardcore as far as, well, I don't know. I guess they really deserve what they get. I guess it really does. But some innocent people got too.
Yeah, for sure.
But, they kind of all deserved it. But it's pretty harsh. I mean, they get punished probably over the top. It's one thing to bury someone into the sand up until their neck, and it's a whole nother thing to curse them to an existence of no arms and no legs and being burned for 70 years or something. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I think the stories were good. I liked the stories and the concept. It was very clearly low budget because there were times that they shot things where they were actually really smart, where the background was almost all black. They had the light on the subject. It was all black. They could have shot that anywhere. And so it was a smart thing to do for locations and stuff. I feel like the acting was good. I feel like, for what it was pretty decent. Although it was definitely low budget. I mean, some of it was edited a little wonky, and it was kind of weird with, it's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of gross.
It's hard to pick out a certain one, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the ice bath. I was like, oh, his wife. Oh.
His sister.
Oh, okay. That's so gross. And she's like, well, you know how I've had my what was it?
Rheumatic fever.
Rheumatic fever. That's what it was. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I know. I'm like,
made herself all up, especially for him.
Oh my God. That was
the worst.
Okay, so see, I kind of have my makeup funky because I did a photo shoot for the Mad Hatter. So I could have just pretended it was an homage to her.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Yeah.
All right. Chad, how about you? Had you seen this before?
Jeff, for somebody who picked the movie, you're going last really sucks.
I know. So wrong.
Okay. What other movie gives you incest?
Yeah.
Necrophilia.
Yeah.
What else?
Zombie
babies that child
bullies.
raise themselves.
Breaking a child's neck with your hands.
Yeah, kissing and then breaking the child's neck.
Yeah.
What other movie?
That was sad.
What other movie?
And that kiss was awkward.
It was not awkward. It was disgusting. It was disgusting. And
a virgin who gets way more pricks than she was intending.
Oh my God, nice one, Bill. Nice one.
Thank you. I was thinking about that all week.
But I saw bits and pieces of this movie when it first came out. I can't remember where or whatever, but I remember in particular the Terry Kaiser segment, and really liked that one a lot. And the thing with these anthology things, it's always about the twist at the end.
Yes.
and how good the twist at the end is. And this had some pretty good twists at the end of these stories. The story doesn't always have to be acted very well or even that great, but if it's got a good twist,
right,
it's enough to keep my attention to watch it. And this did have some pretty good twists. The zombie baby at the end who was standing at the top of the stairs going, "Daddy, Daddy."
When it said "Daddy," I was done. I was like, "I'm so."
Yeah, that made me have to go to the bathroom. You know.
Did you make it?
Yeah, I made it.
Good.
I made it. But Crystal dug that one back. But you know, but then the other stuff with the incest and the sister, and then I made myself up extra special for you, Clue. Oh my God!
Thank you. Yeah.
Give me an effing break. Oh my God, it was just so nasty and disgusting. But yeah, it had some good twists in it. It had some really good makeup effects for what I thought it was. It was an '80s anthology. It was a true '80s anthology. It was squeamish and brutal in some places, and so I think this is the first time I finally sat down and saw the whole thing all the way through at one time. Vincent Price with his Tennessee accent was just spot on genius. I mean, it was just great. And if you didn't see that wraparound segment's ending coming a mile away, you need to turn in your horror fan card, because that was they just telegraphed that way from the beginning. But yeah, I enjoy this. It's a fun movie, and Jeff Mohr, who did one of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequels and a bunch of other stuff. For being a first film, it was a good film. I really did think it was a good film. Had a lot of fun watching it, and I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah. Okay.
Now you, Jeff.
I hadn't seen this before, and what happened is
and you don't get to copy anything any of the rest of us said.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I got the new documentary called Tales of the Uncanny. That's a documentary about anthologies through history.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'll tell you what, that's really good. And when we got to the 80s, this was one of the ones they brought up. And they said it was sort of, it was better than you could have expected for the budget, was kind of the way they described it. And, well, I'll get into some of the other things they said, but that's the thing that made me look it up. And it's not the only one I watched that was in there. This was by far better than the other one. But anyway, I enjoyed it. Although when it first started, I was thinking, because it feels real amateurish. I felt like at the very beginning.
The death row thing was really.
Yeah.
And how they're all in the same room.
Right.
I forgot. I was watching that. I was like, couldn't they have just faked a? That's
really
what they're saying.
Except for Lawrence Tierney. Yeah, go ahead. Throw the switch. Throw the switch.
That's not how we're killing her, Lawrence.
Would have been nice. They had some scenery chewing from Lawrence Tierney, but or punch one of the reporters or something. But anyway, but as it went on, I started to feel like it kind of felt like a night gallery, only with way grislier effects at the end. You know, like the one you were talking about, Chad, with Terry Kaiser, where he's out in the swamp and the voodoo guy cuts his limbs and everything off and leaves them in a bag, and these guys find the bag squirming. You know, on a regular TV show, I think it. You know, even if it would have been on a TV show, they would have said, "Better call the authorities." And then you'd have had the voodoo guy in the background going, "Oh!" They wouldn't have actually shown his body laying in the bed. Oh my God!
Yeah,
that was great. So same with the baby and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of what it felt to be like. It felt almost like a television thing, but way more grislier. And there's some rough spots in the acting, and but they had one or two well-known actors in each segment to try to carry it. Yeah. And for the most part, it worked pretty good. The only one I can think of that isn't somebody getting getting payback is the Lovecraft's Traveling Amusements.
Yeah, those two stand out. They didn't deserve what they got.
Yeah. But the other ones, Klug Gulliger as Stanley is he's a
I hated that guy.
He's awful.
yeah. But he
deserved
was
every
great.
bit of what he-
Performance. He's a great performance.
Yeah.
As I mean,
You
he looked
could
like he was
almost
having
not
fun.
recognize him if he. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. And then what was the well, yeah, the guy in the guy that gets all chopped up,
Yeah.
Terry Kaiser.
Terry Kaiser.
Yeah, he deserved it.
Yeah.
Maybe not that, but
And
he
Cameron
Well,
Mitchell
okay.
deserves it in every movie.
I would
Yeah,
have said
yeah.
he didn't deserve it until he killed the dude with no remorse. Like he killed him, and then he's like, "Oops," and then he just like goes.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was trying. I was
might
like,
not have
"What
wanted
the
to hook
heck?"
the anchor up to him
Yeah.
if you were just trying to scare him.
Right. Hey, listen. If you, and safety tip: if you go out after a voodoo priest, you better make sure you get the job done.
And
Just
what is?
saying.
I just think it was so funny and ironic, of course, that he'd already given him the serum. It's
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
you stupid fool.
Totally underestimated the voodoo priest.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
Oh,
underestimated.
yeah. Absolutely. That was great. When he starts dumping the stuff on him, and you go, "Oh, wait a minute, he can't die."
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's. So I enjoyed it. And then I watched it before I picked it, and when I started watching it the second time for the podcast, I remember thinking, right at the beginning, I'm thinking, "Wait a minute, I thought this was kind of good,"
Mhm.
but it gets better. So let's.
Yeah, it did
let's,
get better.
we mentioned. Well, we have a couple of other posters here. One's I think it's a DVD box. The one on the top.
Mhm.
And you know what? From a whisper to a scream is not a bad title.
It's not a bad title. It sounds more artsy than what
Yeah.
we got. That
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I never sought this movie out. I saw it as two different movies, The Offspring, and then this one sounded like a Hammer film that I'd never seen.
yeah.
So
And poor Vincent he's the one with his head cut off there in the front.
He seems jolly about it.
And then we have, and there's a poster of The Offspring.
See, that doesn't. I don't
No,
know.
that was very
none of it looks
generic.
familiar.
What's the birth of your nightmares? And I think people would be disappointed to rent this and think, oh, it's got this mutant baby thing running around, and it turns out that's what, a minute in the film.
yeah, it had like 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the way I saw it. That's how I saw it.
So you mentioned Bill Jeff Mohr having a, and I think Chad did too. Some of his other stuff, Pumpkinhead 2.
Pumpkinhead 2,
Crystal.
Stepfather 2, Puppet Master, I think
4 and 5.
Yeah. I think he got kind of trapped into this, a guy who can do sequels to franchises, bring things in on budget, and which is fine, but that's probably not the most rewarding thing in the world.
Yeah.
He made a career out of it, and that's more than most folks who go into film can say. But I wonder if maybe he got kind of stereotyped into that.
Yeah.
And I haven't really, I don't know that I've seen any of these.
Well, Pumpkinhead 2 is good.
Okay, I'll definitely give that a chance then.
Hey, it's got Roger Clinton in it. Can't be bad.
What? Roger Clinton? Was Billy Carter not available?
He was doing Stepfather too, I think.
They needed a guy that played saxophone, I think. Or something. No, Stepfather 2 I saw, and that's not.
I don't think it's that bad.
Candle to the first one.
Well, that's the thing. I'll bet all of
I think
these.
I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
I'll bet all of these had half the budget, if that, of the first one, and that's.
The Puppet Master movies aren't bad at all.
I love all the Puppet Master movies, so
Yeah.
I'm just a fan. So I that's why I don't say anything, because I know that some people are like, "This is horrible," but I liked it, and so I'm like, "Yeah, I get it." But
It can be horrible and still like it. You can
Yeah,
still
that's
like
true.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep.
So let's kind of walk our way through these. We had the wraparound, which is we see the execution of Vincent Price's niece,
Martine
and she
Bestwick.
started. Pardon me.
Martine Bestwick, who is
Yes,
Dr. Jekyll and
yes.
Sister Hyde.
Yes. There's a
Really-
lot of
really
horror cred in this
creepy.
cast.
She was so creepy in that.
Mhm.
Despite
Yeah.
Lawrence Tierney's not being able to chew up scenery in those.
Yeah.
They didn't really give him a chance to do anything.
No, nobody had much of a chance there.
But she just came off as really creepy and really.
And Susan, so yeah, Lawrence Tierney is the warden in that scene. And then Susan, is it Terrell or Tyrrell? Terrell
I've always pronounced it Terrell, but
plays a reporter, and she drives right from there over to Vincent, Uncle Julian White, is to, I don't know, sort of gloat, I think, or she pretends like she's there as a reporter to get a story, and then
Turns out she's a disciple of
right.
Satan? No, I'm just kidding.
And at first he doesn't
Kidding,
want.
I'm
At first
just
he doesn't want to see her there, and then he won't shut
Satan?
up.
Yeah. Satan.
yeah, he wants to get rid of her, but then well, she says something like, "At least the killing's done now," and it'll never be done. And then he starts in on this, the curse of Oldfield kind of thing.
Here, look at this book. He just randomly
Which
grabs a
still
book.
didn't make any sense because they never really completely elaborated on the curse.
So they
other
pull
than
these stories
it being
out.
buried on, but
And they take place in different times. You know,
Didn't even look like a book. It looked more like an Office Depot binder.
Yeah. And it was like, what's so funny, I love these things where it's like, oh, you're skeptical? Well, look, here's a complete cock and bull story that somebody wrote down about a rapey guy who gives birth to, I just read it.
oof.
And then you'll be convinced. You're like, this is an X-Men comic book. Yeah, it all happened. It just, okay, you don't believe that one? Well, here's another story with absolutely no evidence behind it. Well, you convinced me. Can I leave now?
yeah. And part of the story was the killer baby at the top of the stairs, or the killer zombie baby. So Price was about, let's see, 85, 86. He was, no, he was like 70. I'm thinking of the year 75 when he did this, but you can tell he's aging.
He's
Yeah.
he's getting on.
I think you had a piece on that.
I think yeah. And
He
apparently,
looks way older than 75. Holy
yeah,
moly.
he does. And he
Holy
doesn't seem like,
moly.
he doesn't seem like a guy who was like hard living, but people age in different ways, I guess.
Yeah, I would totally think he was closer to 90.
80s. Yeah,
Mhm.
later.
Well,
Because my
he's
dad is.
yeah.
Yeah,
He
wow.
died when he was
However old he was, he still had it here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
I mean, he still had he has chops still at that age. And I loved the accent, and I loved the way he interacted with the reporter and everything. He was just great in it. He was the highlight.
He's good.
Oh,
He's
movie,
never
yeah.
been bad. I mean, even in freaking what was that movie I just watched? That cheesy movie.
Oh, Edward
That-
Scissorhands.
No,
No.
but yeah. What was it? It was the one. It's the Monster Party one.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
Monster
Lars
Party.
Karloff and those guys.
Yeah.
It's not good. But he's really. Oh, I'll have to watch it again. Wait, are you talking Mad Monster Party?
I think it's
No,
Mad. Is it Mad? No.
there was one
it's
called
Monster Party,
Monster
yeah.
Party with
Yeah, where he
Yeah.
hosts it, and and then he talks about the different types of like creatures, and then how they have offspring, and how those offspring. Yeah,
Jeez.
I love Vincent Price. He can do no wrong for me.
Apparently, Jeff Mohr just walked up to his house and knocked on the door, and to his
Oh, wow.
shock and amazement, Vincent Price answers, and he's like, "Eek!" That's when I would have wet myself and run away. But he handed
That's how
over his script, and he invited them into the house. And
What?
giddy as school children at that point. It's like, and he to his eventual regret, agreed to do the movie.
He regretted this?
Yes,
Later,
because I
he
think
did, yeah.
I think he only read his part and skipped all the parts about necrophilia and
And incest.
and incest and everything. And probably when he read the reviews, he was like, "Yikes!" So,
Aw.
I ain't
That's
never
too
had
bad.
sex with my sister, nor gave her an ice bath.
Well, they never said they had sex.
Come on.
That was that. I'm just saying.
No,
They didn't, but yeah.
she wanted it. It was something. I don't know. It's all weird and twisted.
It was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, now the picture. By the way, the picture on the bottom while they were shooting this, it feels like they could have shot everything he did in a day, but I guess it was longer than that because he was there long enough that Roger Corman came and visited, and that's a shot from Roger Corman's. And this is the first time they'd seen each other in some time.
Wasn't it like a week or two? I think I read something. He was only on set for like a week.
But why?
Or a few days.
Honestly,
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to work a guy that old to death, but I think you could have shot everything that he did. The only one that maybe a day for the knife effect.
And it was one room. I mean, it wouldn't take much.
And this guy's a
The
pro.
lighting
He knows all his
posted.
lines.
Yeah, they would have been able to. He'd have been able to fly through all that in no time.
But you know what? If
Maybe
I had
they
Vincent
just-
Price for a week, I would shoot for a week. Maybe
Yeah,
there's
me
a bunch
too.
of stuff they shot that never got in or anything. I would just get, are we done? Isn't that the whole script? Oh, no, there's some new pages. Write some new pages. I would not let this guy go. I'd do a Roger Corman write
Making a
movie.
whole different movie on the side and just having. We got him for a
He's
week,
just-
boys. Let's do it.
He's very gaunt, and I think that accentuates it
True.
makes you look sort of cadaverous,
Well, and the lighting isn't the most flattering from above like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is part of
Is
it.
it me
You
or
want to
you?
see him gaunt. You watch him in Edward Scissorhands.
Well, that's his last role.
That's his last role, and he was really looking. He was really looking his age then, but he was still good. He was still good.
Oh, he was great. Yeah, he was good to the very end.
So at the end, after going through all these stories, and Susan Terrell's character says, "Yeah, and oh, by the way, So why did she kill him? Was she a relative of somebody that his niece killed or something?
I think she was a disciple of.
Yeah,
the
she was like a follower of the.
Yeah. It wasn't
Of
really
his niece?
clear.
Yeah.
She
But
whips
but
out
it
a
still
dagger
doesn't-
and throws it right into his neck, and that
And he gets
actually
one
wasn't.
snappy line out, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice.
Even with a knife in his neck, he won't stop talking.
Yeah.
He just wanted to tell these stories.
Hurts very badly.
Yes. But do we have time for one more story?
He does a good job.
As I bleed out, I have one more story of Old Town.
So we mentioned. So the first one they get into is Stanley,
Stanley.
which is
Creepy as F.
yeah, and there's the baby.
Yep.
It looks like it reminds me of Ghoulies.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's and you really got to give Clue credit because he plays that creepy, passive monster. That you wouldn't look if this guy passed you on the street, you would not even look twice at him.
Right.
It just reminds me of I like it when actors sometimes pull that off, like Robin Williams in 2 Hour Photo and everything, where they're the opposite of scary, which somehow makes them scarier.
Scary.
Yeah,
And
he's got those Coke bottle glasses on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, those glasses. Oof.
A lot of his former roles were like Western roles and stuff like that, and so when he started getting into horror, like Return of the Living Dead and stuff like that, where he's playing these quirky, weird characters. Not what was Feast, I think was one he was in that his son directed. Just playing these weird, quirky characters. He
Feast,
really,
yeah.
He was just so fantastic. He's a great actor, and I really like watching him work, watching him act, because he can do like everything. I mean, whenever you can go from cowboy movies and cowboy shows to playing weird horror film, incestual murderers, you got to give a guy some credit. He's got some range there, I think.
He was in Piranha 3 Double D.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
Anytime the guy can play a part and he can make you believe he's actually that guy, I mean, he's doing a good job, and that's what he did here. It was so creepy and weird.
So he was a regular on the Virginian back in the day.
Mm.
Oh, okay. The only thing I don't like about this story was that there was really no one to root for. I felt bad for the sister, but she's creepy. Just not as creepy as everyone else. The victim, I don't know why they made the victim such a unlikable character.
Yeah, she was not nice too.
Yeah, she didn't deserve what she got, but she, it's just.
His clingy, mixed up sister.
Yeah, let's stop talking about her.
I thought her performance was good. The actress was brave. I mean, she's nude. She's in a bucket of ice. The part where she made herself up was actually the one part that kind of made me like her because it's so sad. It's so pathetic, and she has no idea how to do it. So it's like she's imitating what she's seen other people do for makeup. So clearly, she's never had the chance to do this. She's been isolated her whole life. I mean, there's a sad.
But she had friends apparently, because remember someone called for her.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
So that's because I was trying to. Okay, so there's a lot to this that is obviously there is no basis in reality that this. Yeah. Well, obviously, but for him to have the time alone with the body would never happen anyway. No. I was like, what is happening here? This is insanity. This would never happen.
Especially not to do what he did.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Well, they're not allowed to leave people alone with the body, period. Yeah. That's
for this
the
very
reality.
Reason.
Okay, that is. Oh, he broke in.
Yeah, there's a scene where they show him breaking.
I guess I
just a short
sex with his body. We need
it's like a second of somebody throwing something through a basement window, and the next shot is he's standing up there looking at her in the empty.
Oh, I guess I missed that because I was just like, what on earth? Well, they have all these lights on and stuff. I'm like, oh, welcome home.
And then we just gloss over the fact that this is just not how biology works. Whatever he did with the body, 9 months later, she's not going to give birth to a little monster. And there's no, it's not like she was a voodoo priest or.
Don't forget they were in Oldfield.
They give the whole thing away by saying 9 months.
9 months later, I know. I wish they hadn't done that actually, because if they hadn't done that and if they just said some time later. It would have totally still worked. Yeah. And been so obvious.
They were way too specific with the 9 months.
So did you guys recognize Terrence Knox? The hunky guy that Stanley worked with?
I didn't recognize anybody. So I'm clearly bad at this.
He was in St. Elsewhere, and he was in Tour of Duty, which was a Vietnam War show in the 80s. He played like the lieutenant or the sergeant. I think maybe, the guy that keeps everybody in line, if I remember right. That was a pretty good show.
Yeah, I will say this movie has a much higher percentage than most, especially most low-budget films, of having a lot of people who went on to other things.
Mm-hmm. It had a great cast.
Yeah, he was kind of the hunk. Then he was after Grace, too. So Stanley's after Grace. He's trying to get her to go out with him for some unknown reason. She goes out to supper with him
because she felt bad for him. I could totally tell by the way that the whole conversation, she was like, well, okay, I guess.
She didn't seem like the sort of person because, and I don't think I'm talking out of school here. Crystal, back me up. Ladies, do not encourage these kind of people. Do not give them the faintest hope that they will grab onto. Just say no. Stick to your guns.
Because they're already having sex with their sister.
Yes. I was like, oh, he's harmless. Oh,
no. And that's the problem, because I think that it's like the people that become weird and clingy like that are always coming across as being harmless, but they're just not.
Right. You don't want to dig in their basement.
No.
So we do have a couple of clue pictures here I think you put up,
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just doesn't. I mean, I think you could watch this if you didn't see who was in this. I think you could watch this and not recognize him for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I had to remind myself this is the same guy who was in Return of the Living Dead. I had to go through my mind. Who was he in Return of the Living Dead? It's like, oh yeah, completely different role, completely different persona. He had fun with it.
Surely those glasses would hurt his eyes, right? I mean, that can't be good.
I think
gonna say.
Jeff Mohr said that he found them. That he's one of those guys who
Yeah, those are
actors
so
who likes to
bad.
find a prop to work, and he walked in with those, and they're like, "That's Stanley."
If
And,
you're willing to wear them, yeah, you go for
yeah.
it.
Way to ruin your eyes. Oof. Yikes.
All right. Well, the second story.
Also, he screams like a girl, and not a very big girl.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great.
A
That
very
was great.
small girl. Yeah.
When
That was
they do
great.
Scream Queens, he never gets mentioned, but I think he should be mentioned quite prominently.
You know, and they gave Mark Patton such a hard time for
I know. I was thinking the same thing. Mhm.
for Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Mark was good.
This he was,
Yeah.
he was, but this I thought this worked good too because that was his character, right?
Yeah,
He was-
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Anyway, the second one, On the Run, is this guy that's
Bernie.
I don't know. Yeah, Weekend at Bernie, Terry Kaiser.
That's right.
But he's a guy who's been in like every TV show ever made in the 80s anyway, maybe back to the 70s.
Yeah.
So what was the deal? Somebody was coming after him.
He's a greedy
Yeah.
guy.
He stole
rips
some
people
money
off.
from somebody, and his
Yeah,
girlfriend
yeah.
betrayed him.
I guess he ticked off his woman because, boy, she was
She ratted him out.
she dropped the dime on him, then took his bullets out of his gun. Just like, wow, just break up with the dude. This is awful.
All the bad guys tell him where he
Yeah.
is.
This is one of my favorite segments. I love backwoods horror like this, Pumpkinhead
Yeah.
and stuff like this, with just these backwood voodoo type banjos playing on the
Yeah.
soundtrack and that kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff.
And it's
So
it's got that great EC. It just felt like this is like a story that would have been in the Warren magazines back
Yeah.
in the day, eerie and creepy.
Vault of Horror, yeah.
Yeah, it was very,
This reminds me a lot, actually,
They're all
of Red
kinda
Dead
like that.
Redemption too. Like some of the stuff that goes on in the game. Have you played Red Dead Redemption? Anyone?
Yep,
Like
I
the
have.
swamp, and they have these creepy people that come out of the swamps, and they have all kinds of stuff like this.
yeah, that was a
Yeah.
good shot with all the hands coming out at him and everything.
Yeah. When that was like a nightmare, right? When he woke up in the cabin.
Mhm.
Although it could have been what happened. We don't know.
Mhm.
I thought I just you could kind of see the ending coming, but not the whole ending because
Right.
I mean when
just how
that
far
was
they got.
the voodoo master into the swamp by accident. Whoops, there goes the anchor. He's coming back because he can't die. So
Right.
I just thought that was great. And he wakes up and he's strung out across a pentagram. He literally, I think, does he go or something like that?
Yeah.
He looks around and goes, oh.
Oh my God, a pentagram.
Yeah, I think
This
that's
happens
it.
to me every other week.
And actually the voodoo master, and I can't remember his actual name, Harry Caesar. Felder Evans, he plays Felder Evans, but he's a recognizable guy too. He was in a bunch of TV shows in the 80s and a few movies. I was trying to think. Murder in Mississippi, Bird on a Wire, A Few Good Men.
Oh, so yeah, and he was good in the role. I mean, this is kind of a one joke premise, but it's a good joke. It builds to a kind of unforgettable, nasty ending. I mean, he does deserve it. He deserved to die, but this kind of suffering is like this is something you'd say. This is what Hitler deserves. Just absolute pain and suffering that can't end. And of course, just to drive it home, we have the doctor. Just pray that the poor guy dies soon. It's like, that's not going to happen.
And the nurse goes, yeah, he's
Yeah, he won't last the night.
You don't
75
think he
years
can hear
later.
us, do you?
Don't realize this guy's going to be in this hospital for the next 75 years. They just have to like pass
The
him on
alien,
to the next nurse.
the alien invasions have already happened. The zombie apocalypse has already happened, and he's still alive.
He's still there.
Well, it's a great shot. Yeah, exactly. With that tear coming out
change
of
those
his,
bandages for God's sakes, dang.
Yeah, they're a little soaky.
A little soaky.
Yeah, by the time you wrap him up, you got to start over again, I think.
Oh,
It reminds me of like that old movie where the guy was like in a coma, but he was still all there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where and you hear the thoughts going on in his head.
There was a Twilight Zone or some episode where the guy.
Maybe that's what it was, a Twilight Zone.
He's about to
that's
be
what it
cut
was.
up by the autopsy and everything, and they're just about to cut into him, and then they see a tear going down his face.
Yeah.
And they realize.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a kind of a classic twist here. I think of. There are others where we've had the immortal guy.
There's a lot of buried alive things, but all right. So segment 3 is the Lovecraft's Traveling Amusements. Now, I didn't see anything that seemed Lovecraftian. But it's...
Were they trying to say the eyeball was? That's the closest, I guess.
That was pretty weird. Yeah, that was pretty weird. Yeah. Rosalind Cash plays the owner-runner of that in the center picture. We've got the glass eater who has fallen in love with a local, apparently, or she's fallen in love with him and trying to get him to leave. And Rosalind Cash says, no go.
Nope.
And so, Angelo Rosito as master.
And yes.
Now, I believe,
he was also in Freaks, wasn't he?
I just was thinking, I think he's the last, he might have been in the Wizard of Oz. Was he the guy that was the last living?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
He's not the last living. I think he was in Freaks, though.
I have a feeling he wasn't in Freaks, but he was in.
No?
He was in Freaks.
Was he? Oh, wow.
Yeah. He plays Angelino. Not too far from his own story, huh?
I love that guy. I love that guy.
He was. And he was in Tarzan, the 8-Man Sign of the Cross. He played pygmies and dwarves.
He was in Wizard of Oz.
And his most terrifying role, March of the Wooden Soldiers, where he played like one of the 3 little pigs. That movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. And whoever said he was in the Wizard of Oz, he was right. I guess if you were a little person at that age, of course you're in the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
right. How would they let him go? But I always remembered him in like Spooks Run Wild with Bela Lugosi, where he
Dracula versus Frankenstein.
God, yes.
Brain of Blood.
Yeah.
Then he was in some kids show, H.R. Pufnstuf and Lidsville.
Oh Lord! Have you ever watched any of those?
I have.
Don't drop acid. Just watch them
religiously. You didn't have to do drugs when you watched HR.
Oh Lord! And I love Rosalind Cash. She was in the Omega Man. I loved her.
Yes.
I feel like this was an underdeveloped story.
I agree. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This could have been expanded into something longer. I guess they didn't have the time for that. But this just like why. You get the feeling like these were bad people who came to her in exchange for anonymity. The price was you had to become a freak. Yeah. I don't know what the Glass Eater had done, though. I don't think they ever mentioned any crime that he had done. The others were sort of mentioned vaguely.
Right. She gets after the guy, No Face. Yeah.
Right. But it's a horrific thing. First of all, the idea of a Glass Eater. I've seen people do these things. It's freaky. Just I can't imagine, because you think, oh, you're swallowing this, it's going to cut you up all the way down. Well, to have that become
you do know that it's a trick, right? It's a trick. It's a trick build.
What?
It's
What?
drag. It's
What?
magic.
Is it
Hit a
really?
light bulb. Hit a light bulb and you start chewing on
Sideshows
it.
are
Yes.
sideshows are real.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
this guy is real though because she
One of
got
my girlfriends
all the-
does. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
the
She does razor
she got-
blades.
Razor
used,
blade.
she used that stuff, Chad, to make all the stuff he'd eaten come out. I guess from the inside out.
yeah. Here come the razor blades. Which, so I guess he's been eating this stuff and it just stays in his body. And I suppose if the alternative is pooping out razor
Oh,
blades in your
stop.
own glass, yeah. Ouch.
Well, the reality is it would kill you in your
I-
digestive tract. So even small pieces, that's why people have died from even like eating like ground up glass and stuff.
I wonder how many kids would
Kills
go
them.
home from this
Oh my
carnival and they're like, I want to join the circus. I'll start doing this glass eating thing. Nom, 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 nom. And that's.
Oh, I
so-
totally could see that. Yeah.
The death toll
So-
for children doing this was not as well reported
Right.
back then.
It was
So
the
that was
Tide
the
Pod
grizzly.
challenge of the day.
The grisly part of this one, we think the lovers have gotten away, and then she puts the hoodoo on him, and his skin starts rippling with what razor blades
Yeah.
from the inside out,
Which
and
is
then they
cool.
start blasting out and hitting the wall, and then not only did it hit the wall,
Hit her.
it hit her. Although how she talked her into being in the show,
Yeah, that's what I was like. But well, I guess maybe
She probably said that you could either die or I can help you.
Yeah. So the living
Yeah.
pincushion. She becomes a
Right.
living pincushion. Yeah.
But none of it made sense because, so they go out into the graveyard because here's a great place to have your first time, and she does her hoodoo voodoo on him, and he starts freaking out and everything, and then they run away and go to the hotel, and they seem surprised that the exact same thing happens again. She clearly has the power to kill this guy from a distance,
Yeah.
but they think if we just gone one more mile,
Yeah.
it's like Wi-Fi; it can only go so far.
Wi-Fi.
Well, if you have the mesh boosters, then you can. Anyway, yeah. So that was not the best one, but it was kind of fun. I kind of like the ending of it.
The
I
ending,
just
though,
wish we had more. That's
Right.
all.
and the ending. Listen, if there's ever a story set in a freak show, it's almost like a law that the ending has to be that someone is turned into the latest freak.
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean,
this is one of those segments that actually should have been its own movie or something,
Yes.
or expanded to be, because you didn't have enough time to really get the gist
Right.
of everything that's going on. So
Yeah, because I want to know
So-
why this lady is the way she is, and
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
know more about that. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Hmm.
I wonder if there was ever any thought of expanding that into.
Yeah. So the guy with the cane that he then they what does the guy do? Stabs him with his Angelo stabs him with his sword.
Like, yeah.
Um,
I'm
And,
taller than you now.
It's pretty good.
that was great. That was great.
But then it turns out.
But
that
then
he's
if he
got an
takes
eye
his
in
shirt off,
chest.
he's got the I went. that was
Which
kinda
and it's
weird.
like, oh, that's how he's been able to see us. Well, no, he's got eyes in his face too.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't know what
I'm
the
still
extra
looking
eye
at,
does.
See you.
I was waiting for the jab into the chest eyeball. That's what I
Yeah.
was waiting for.
That would have been a nice pop and
Ouch.
squirt. So, section 4, story 4, the 4 soldiers. Boy, you
Those
can't
don't
be any
bother
more
me the
blatant than that. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For a lot of reasons. I mean, we start off with these 4 Yankee soldiers, right?
Yeah.
That are not, at least, well, no, 3 of them are just not.
3 of them are jerks. Yeah.
Not many morals left. And there's some Confederate soldiers that they see that are waving a white flag, and they just,
I don't see any white flag.
side them up and shoot them. And then when they go over to where they were, they find flyers that say the war is over.
Huh.
And they don't really feel bad at all. Think of all the Confederate women.
Oh,
No.
And then the one good guy in the group decides he's just going to go home, and he calls the Cameron Mitchell's bluff that isn't a bluff.
You never, ever,
Never.
ever trust Cameron Mitchell.
No, never
no,
call a man's bluff.
Ever.
You just watched him commit a war crime, and now you're double
know.
dog daring him to shoot him in the
I
back.
know, idiot.
Okay.
So then they walk into this group of the kids capture them. They shoot them with cannons and stuff, and this group of kids that are left over from their parents being killed, and they're kind of a mixed bunch. The one boy's eye is all scarred, and then the one girl's wearing a patch.
Mm-hmm.
The little girl with the doll, and that's the one. So
I think
anyway,
there's only one girl, isn't there?
they get kind of mouthy with these kids, like they're all tied up and standing there.
Yeah.
And the kids are telling them what's going to happen. And this guy says, no, you're not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And the one kid just takes his knife and stabs him.
Yeah.
It's
Right. I'm always amazed in movies when people are totally helpless and they're talking smack.
Oh, I know.
Shut your pie hole. This is what got you in trouble in the first place. But I guess that's the nature of the beast.
This is like a Civil War version of Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is kind of.
Yeah. When I get out of these restraints, what are you going to do? Bleed all over us? Just
Well, the
shut
thing
up.
is, see, he who hides behind the rose, he's going, yeah. I'm Cameron
whatever.
Mitchell. Whatever. You can't hold me here. I'm going to.
Oh, and he's the worst.
He's the worst. He's the worst because
he plays up to this little girl.
You look like my papa.
That made me want to throw up.
Yeah, it made me so sad. This is the one that pissed me off the most, which is effective because he's supposed to be bad, and this guy richly he deserves the punishment that everyone else in the previous three put together.
You're like a daughter to me. Let me kiss you directly on the mouth.
I know, it's so grody.
And then snap your neck.
Snap your neck, yeah. He is the evilest of the evil. And then what ends up happening to him?
I guess he gets cooked and eaten.
Yeah, they eat him.
Yeah.
But all I kept thinking was they're like, oh, our food. I'm like, you do not put your food directly on the fire.
I don't think these kids care.
Duh.
I don't think these kids had much choice.
They're gonna let him get good and charred. They like charred stuff.
Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine's burned. How about yours?
They used a dry rub. No, and when they got the guy, that's the other thing. Jiminy Christmas. So the blonde-haired guy, he gets lippy at him, and the next thing you know, we see him laying on the table, and the kid is like, is he gonna try to stick that eyeball in the little girl? I guess.
Swapping eyeballs.
Yeah.
There you go. It's a little dirty.
There's about 6 inches of optic nerve hanging out there.
Oh,
Here's a 40-year-old guy's eyeball I'm going to stick into your little 13-year-old.
Color doesn't match, but
eyeballs stay the same size though.
Do they?
So yes, they do. They're all. That's why with babies, their eyes look so big.
Oh, that's why they got those ginormous. I thought it was so that they look so cute. We didn't just throw them off a bridge.
That is a fact that I never thought I would learn on this podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
We all start out as anime characters. Yeah.
That still doesn't mean it would fit. I mean, people have different sized eyeballs, so it's just super creepy. He thought she'd be so happy too.
It would have been so much better if she went, "It doesn't fit."
Yeah. The pin the tail and the donkey stuff was pretty nasty too.
Oh yeah, that was funny. The pinata. That's what it reminded me of. But
this movie's just mean.
Oh yeah, just the limbless body. They might have used
laughing about it too. It's like,
same
you gotta
body
write
as
this
they did in the
fast.
other
That's
one,
anatomically incorrect, but funny.
I got a kidney. What'd you get?
Yeah.
oh my god.
Torso.
Yeah, torso. Right.
Well, here's
it's a good premise.
Close though. Toolbox
Cameron
murder.
Mitchell.
Cameron Mitchell.
Stuff he was in. We got everything from Mario Bava to oh man, Night Train to Terror. Have you guys ever watched Night Train to Terror?
No.
I think it's kind of an 80s movie. We got to do it sometime. Just be prepared for the most mental nuttiness ever. It's hard to say what that movie is because it's a bunch of movies that they cut up and stuck into it, and they made an anthology out of a bunch of movies, which is not the way to do it, but okay.
I have seen the Toolbox Murders.
Yeah. It was
What's the other one? Nightmare
in Wax.
Wax?
It's one of those movies where he's got like an eye patch and he's a crazy guy who cuts off people's heads and molds them into wax. And they do this by having a table with a hole in it that they put the head in, and the people have to hold their breath and try not to move. And they fail utterly, completely fail. It's like clearly this is a bunch of people trying to be as still as they can, and with their eyes.
So we
open.
did Blood and Black Lace on Classic Era, and Bill's got a review of it on Gruesome Magazine website.
I do. Blood and Black Lace. Oh well, I've forgotten all these things. It's a memory like.
Oh my God! Yes.
And there's one you left out though, Bill.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm talking about, Chad?
Wait a minute.
This is going to cover everybody's face up because I didn't have time to resize it. But we did this. This was our episode 2.
You did Man-Eater of Hydra?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I've never even
First
seen
time
it.
on video.
I thought that was hard to find. I don't think I've
Transferred from 16 millimeters.
No, we saw it on YouTube, I believe.
From 16 millimeter.
Yeah, Joseph
that's something to
Perry.
be proud of?
It wasn't a great thing. Yeah, transferred from 16 millimeter. Directed by Mel Wells.
Oh, yeah, Mel. Wow, it's in Technoscope.
Mushnick. I see you, Crystal.
Yeah, I'm like, what is going on there?
That is the biggest poster I have ever seen.
That's
the you know what? I couldn't find any Man-Eater of Hydra posters. All I could find was it's also known as Island of Doom or Isle of Doom. Which is an Isla, Isla del Muerto or something, either Italian or Spanish.
Yeah. I love that movie.
It's you know what? If that ever came out on Blu-ray, I would buy that so fast.
So you can capture every nuance.
Well, it's weird. He's got this island where he's not to get too far off subject, but this is just hilarious. He's trying to create a meat
steak
substitute.
Sauce.
Meat substitutes. So the way that you do that to keep people happy is you develop plants that taste like meat.
And they probably have to eat meat to taste like meat.
Well, it kind of turns out that way. Yep. They like to suck blood.
Okay.
What was the deal? Was on there something about the vampire? What was the terrifying?
The
vampire tree.
That's so weird.
So
of all the fake cryptid monsters out there, the man-eating plants have always been some of my favorites because, boy, you got to really be a special kind of stupid if you get eaten by a plant.
This is
Feed me Seymour.
Feed me Seymour.
Yeah.
We just started a brand new podcast, and Joseph Perry gets his first pick. So what do I? Aaron picked Psycho. Chad picks Creature from the Black Lagoon. I think maybe I picked King Kong or the Tingler or something like that. Perry picks Man-Eater of Hydra.
You're like, what? You're the quirky one, huh? Yeah.
He saw it when he was a kid, and it freaked him out.
Hail Hydra.
Yeah.
I'm
kind of that way with Attack of the Crab Monsters. There's some movies that when you see them when you're young, Fiend Without a Face, they just leave this imprint in your head.
Absolutely. We talk about that all the time. You see them at just the right time, and it's there.
And it can be hard to convey that to people who saw them, when they were old enough to know better.
Freaks really messed me up. That was actually one of the scariest movies I saw as a kid for some reason.
Yeah, that was
we did that pretty early too. We did that like episode 8. That was that is a freaky one, and that's one that's never been, as far as I know, hasn't ever been on Blu-ray. It's
every print I've seen's been pretty terrible, so probably not worth putting on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I own a copy from iTunes, and it's really pretty good.
Yeah, I think the DVD. There was a DVD they put out. I got it on DVD loan from Netflix when we did it. When I still had that on my subscription, and I thought it was pretty good. But anyway, they're probably still staying away from it. All right, let's wrap this one up. Any final comments about this? I just thought I love anthologies, and we've already done 80s has done 2 or 3 anthologies, and Creepshow twice. So I was kind of when they popped up a few on this Tales of the Uncanny. I thought, check one of these out.
No, I'm glad I watched it. I enjoyed it. I mean, for what it was, I did enjoy it. It was weird, and it was. I think if people haven't seen it out there, they should watch it.
Yeah.
It's on Prime, so
Yeah.
And unlike a lot of the anthologies that came out in the 80s, which were just student films that they found the flimsiest excuse to slap together, this one was planned. This was their deliberate thing. A town with a lot of secrets and stories from different ages. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. It's most all anthologies, the good ones have a good wraparound story that ties all the stories together. And this had that, and Vincent Price, Clu Gulager, Cameron Mitchell. It had a great cast, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. It just if you can't stomach incest, cannibalism, if you're one of those type of people, don't watch it. But other than that, it's a fun movie to watch, I think.
So this actually says I didn't double check this, but this was Angelo Rosito's final credited acting role.
Oh,
was it?
He lasted a good long time. I mean,
yeah. As a matter of fact, yes. Died at the age of 83.
Well, he was in Thunderdome. So when was Thunderdome? That was like mid 80s, maybe. 85,
so.
85 or so. So this may be a couple of years after he did Thunderdome. And I just love that guy. He's so fun to watch. I think he's a really good actor too. And he's just very fun to watch. And he was fun in this one too, even though his part was very small. Yeah.
Anybody else? If not, we'll wrap that up. And we do have some feedback.
oh yay.
Hopefully not from anybody that I don't like.
I don't think so.
Don't you like?
Yeah.
Oh, he bitches about Dallas all the time.
Oh, I love Dallas.
174, episode 174, Prince of Darkness. One from Merritt Neath. A couple of these are from YouTube. So the names, usernames. Looks like Merritt Neath or Neath. No remake, at least not now. They would amp up the religious element to the point where the two alien beings really become demons. By the way, in Die Fürsten der Dunkelheit, the word D is not feminine but plural. It means the Prince of Darkness, which is actually not wrong. We're dealing with the father and the son who don't seem to belong in the same species. And she's absolutely right, or he. For some reason, I thought this was a she. But I did look it up, and D is the feminine article, but it's also plural, used for plural.
Oh, cool!
So,
Yay! So
appreciate that. Thank you for the correction. I should go in there and reply to them. And then from Reggaeton Remixes, Reggaeton. I think it would benefit from a remake. I watched it like 3 times. Every time I go into it, I have the feeling I'll really like it, but I never do. I would never watch the thing because I can't stand bad CGI, I think he means. So In the Mouth of Madness is definitely the best John Carpenter movie ever for me. Kind of a train of thought comment there.
That's all right. Yeah. At least someone's thinking.
Yeah, because
I totally understand. Yeah. And then our buddy Sean Parks has a comment on The Church, episode 175. I'm always up for a good night of tomfoolery. I think that was something in our banter at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Or he's just talking about spending it, watching a video.
I think we were talking about old people terms that are not used anymore.
Like
tomfoolery.
Tomfoolery, yeah. And then 176, Cannibal Holocaust. Renee St. Aubin says, "Oh man, I can't believe Bill did this to you."
Oh, believe it.
And I don't know if you guys know her, but she's kind of a regular on the YouTube commenting. Yeah. And then also Jeremiah the Pisces also makes a lot of comments. Love this movie.
Yay!
Well, don't tell Renee.
Yeah. Renee. Renee's got your number. Renee's got
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Renee's. I understand what Renee's saying. This is not a. If somebody said I will refuse to watch that movie, I'm like, go in peace, my friend. It's good to know these things. It's not for all tastes or even most tastes or any.
I don't know. I'm glad I watched it again. It had been a really long time
Yeah.
since I'd seen it, so it was kind of interesting to watch it again and see what kind of perspective I had.
Right.
Because it's one I have tended to avoid
It's
otherwise.
definitely one of a kind.
Yeah.
Which is good.
So thank you to Reggaeton Remixes and Merritt Neath,
Sean.
and Sean and Renee and Jeremiah. Awesome,
Thanks
guys.
for all the comments.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening or watching or whatever. Jeremiah had a comment one time for Classic here that it was he fell asleep listening to the podcast. He said it was just like family.
Oh, that's nice.
I said, nice. Yeah. I didn't know if it was a compliment or not, but I took it that way. Yeah.
What?
So,
Like, I would
fun.
always think that was a compliment. It's like,
with family. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
All right.
I mean,
Well, that's it for this episode, Grue Believers. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Bill. What are we watching next, Bill?
Oh, Cannibal Holocaust 2, more Bundaloo.
oh my gosh. Are you,
No,
trying to do Electric
but it's a-
Boogaloo?
It's a weird. It's a kind of an odd one, and I have not seen it all the way through. It has two titles. It was originally Island of the Fishmen, and America, Roger Corman in particular, got a hold of it and turned it into Screamers, and promised that you would see something that you would never forget. But apparently they forgot to put that in.
And where can we find this movie?
I believe this is on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
I double checked before I chose it. Of course, now that I've said this, they're probably yanking it off as soon as we. That seems to happen with us more than once. So grab it while we can. And I'm not sure which version
Yeah,
is
so
there
we'll
or if both versions are.
do
so-
that again. Okay. And hey, guys, check out our Patreon page. It does cost some money to host all this stuff for space and equipment and stuff, and our exorbitant salaries.
Oh, yeah. Gotta keep Crystal and pizza.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pizza. You said it wrong. It's pizza.
Not. Plenty of ways to stay in touch. Send feedback at gruesomemagazine.com. Or what do we do, Crystal?
Just comment below and then hit the
yeah.
like or the dislike button, whatever, and hit the notifications and
Yeah.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Do it all. Do it
Make
all.
us, make us famous. That's what we really want.
Yeah, that is what I want, Chad.
Well,
Exactly.
we're at the target. So the more subscribers we can get, the better. So, you know, if you. All right. Do it. Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it.
Yay.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. What is
Great.
Good night, everybody.